Hey friends, this is the part 2 of the series Guide to Loose Watercolor Flowers. In part 1, we discuss about all the basic flowers, the basic strokes, and in this part, we are going to discuss a little bit about composition. I am definitely going to have more parts in which I'm going to discuss about more other kind of compositions, and for now, I'm not going to waste a lot of time and we are going to get into the video right now. In the previous video, which was the part 1, we learned how to do the basic watercolor techniques that we are practically going to use. We went through the whole process of painting the roses, what I think, the basic strokes, what's the origin of the basic stroke, and basically what all is going in my mind while I'm painting a rose flower. And then I showed you the things that you do not have to do while you are painting a rose. And then we went with another flower, which is a petal flower. So here's the basic approach, the basic stroke, and the other variations that you can go with this flower. And then we went with a filler flower, leaves, and now in this video we are going to go with the basic composition. I am basically going to share what is going in my mind when I am thinking to paint a composition, considering all these flowers are loose watercolor flowers, what is going in my mind. So definitely there are a few rules when we are considering to paint a composition, and a lot of them are very applicable when we are doing a landscape or a seascape. Basically rule of thirds, in which we are dividing a sheet in a 3 parts from here, 3 parts from here. The points are the points where you have to put a lot of more focus, or like there are so many other rules, but that do not quite work for me whenever I'm painting a watercolor composition in loose flowers. So I'm just gonna share what goes in my mind while I am painting the composition. So I'm just gonna start with the basic things. So this is the sheet, the first composition. I'm just gonna go with the landscape thing, more like a landscape situation. I'm just gonna pick up the pink color and I'm just gonna use the mixing area, so you definitely can see what my mixing area look like right over here. I'm just gonna use this brush, which I also used in the previous video. I was jumping back and forth from few brushes so that it removes the restriction that is in your mind that keeps you believe that you have to use one specific brush, but you can use as many like any brush that you can have. But we also talked about the basic brushes that will work for this technique. So I'm just gonna start with this pink color, and I'm just gonna start with painting a rose flower. So basically whenever I'm painting the whole composition, I am never gonna start from the center part of the paper. This is the center part. I will never start with the center part. I will definitely shift a little bit right, left, up or down or diagonal to the center part. So basically I'm just gonna start a rose flower from here. So just the very basic things, starting from the center part, and then I'm just gonna have C strokes. So these are the C strokes, just like this. So you can see I'm having a mixture of smaller and a bigger size C strokes. I'm gonna pick a little bit of more pink color. I do need a little bit of saturation. I want to keep these strokes as saturated as they can be. So there is a mixture of smaller and the bigger size C strokes, but also shifting from a smaller size to the bigger size when we are moving out the flower. So now I'm currently using just clean water to paint the C strokes. So can you see I am having a good amount of connections, but also I am definitely leaving a lot of negative space in between. I'm just gonna make this flower a little bit more fuller and having those bumps that we talked in the previous class. So this is the overall structure of the flower that I'm gonna have. I will probably detail it a little bit more afterwards. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna shift to a petal flower, and probably I can place that petal flower right over here or right over here at the top. And I will tell you why I'm doing that. I'm basically creating a kind of framework that I'm gonna work around with. So I'm just gonna pick this blue color The pink color is kind of just blending in the palette area, but that's completely fine. So I'm just using my brush to have these very loose strokes. I've also talked about these strokes, how I paint these strokes. Can you see? I'm having just very easy placement of the petals of the flowers. And I'm gonna take the saturated sap green. So this is the sap green. I'm gonna use the mixing area to mix the color. And then I'm just gonna put these strokes very simply, just like this. If color is blending, bleeding, let it bleed, because it's definitely gonna look so much better once it has dried, or once you're gonna do the next layer. Once the paper has dried, basically we will be doing another layer once the paper will get dry, and that will be layering wet and dry. And the third flower that I'm probably just gonna put right over here, it can be a petal flower, a rose flower. I usually like to go with more of a rose flower, so I'm just gonna go and paint another rose flower over here. You can just change the color of the red. You can go with a petal flower. It's completely up to you. You can go with either of the flower. So I'm just gonna go with the rose flower. So I just picked up a little bit of warmer shade of red. I'm gonna pick a little bit of more red color. So can you see the C-strokes? I'm gonna rinse out all the color from my brush, and now I'm just gonna paint with the water. Rinsing out again color from the brush. Make sure you have to leave the negative space. So I'll stop a little bit over here, and I will talk about what I did considering things that were in my mind. I started with this flower. I went with the C strokes and all. I painted this flower, and then I painted this flower. But also here at this thing, I was willing to paint it in a way that these two flowers are basically more connected with each other. I am not having a full flower right over here and a full flower right over here. Here you can see they're having a good junction, a place where these two flowers can interact with each other on the paper. So I really want that thing to happen while you are painting the composition. And then I also painted the third flower, considering that I have to create the junction and the interactions that these flowers can have with each other on the paper. So I do not want the elements just to be flying around here and there, or if in a way that you are trying to dissect a composition, it should not look two different compositions. It should look like that something is missing from that composition. So all the elements should interact with each other, should complement them in a very nice way. So they should work together. So that was the one thing that you have to take note of while you are painting the composition. And the other thing is that I just wanted to create a bigger framework while I am painting this composition. So I started with painting a triangle. So if I am just meeting the center part of these flowers, it is creating a triangle. Now I am having a framework, and I can work around this framework, adding the other elements. These are basically, so this is something that I think a lot while I'm creating, or while I teach how to paint flowers, is that it's like creating a movie. These three are the main characters, and now the other elements are gonna be the supporting characters of these main elements. So you have to decide how you want the whole composition to go. So these are the main elements, the main flowers. Now you're gonna add another flowers that are gonna be the filler flowers or supporting flowers, however you want to say it. I mean, it's completely up to you. You can use any terminology. Also, the other thing, I worked in a way that I did the base layer, the base layer, the base layer, and now I will just let it dry. In the meantime, I painted the base layer of this flower. The base layer of this flower already got dry, so now I can just start with detailing this flower. Or what you can do is you can just start with painting the filler elements and then you can come back to these flowers or detail. I'm just gonna go and start with detailing. I'm just gonna put my palm and I can see it has dried, so I don't have to worry a lot. I'm just gonna start with the exact same color that I chose earlier. You can use a little bit of darker shades, completely up to you. Also, I'm just gonna start with detailing the same C strokes. So all the C strokes that should be simply just spread around the whole composition, just like this. All the C strokes that I painted in wet and dry were not just placed at one specific part, so take note of that. So I'm just pretty happy with the shape. And for detailing the petal flower, I'm just gonna pick more of the blue color, a little bit of darker than something that we use in the base layer, and I'm just gonna paint these strokes, just very randomly placing them, but also in painting it in a way that my previous strokes can be complemented. The same direction, the same flow, and at few areas you can just, and now I just rinse out all the color, and now at few areas I can just smoothen them up a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit smoothing. And then we have the third flower, which is I guess still a little bit wet, so I won't be working on this flower right now. I can detail them afterwards. So once I am done with all the main flowers, what I can do is I can just pick up some other color that I want to paint the filler flowers with. So I am just gonna use which color. I mean, I do not want to play around a lot with the colors because I'm already having like few colors here. So I'm just gonna simply grab the orange color, just very simply. You can add as many colors you want, you can use as less colors you want, you can literally paint the whole composition with a single color, that is completely fine. So right now I'm just using the basic stroke that my brush can give, but also at the same time I can just add like strokes on my own. So once I painted with this much, I just rinse out all the color from my brush. I'm just gonna paint the strokes with clean water. And now I'm just gonna pick the sap green color directly from the pan, mixing it in the palette. And I'm just gonna add. A flower right over here, just all the stems, few smaller leaves. I'm gonna add like 1 or 2 more stems at the bottom side. I'm gonna have few stems that are just in the air, not connected to any other petal. And also the other thing that I want you to notice is the placement of this flower. So if I have to place this flower at other position, where else I can place it? I am going to do a little bit of eye training. If I have to place this flower at any other position, I am definitely not gonna place this flower at this side. I'll tell you why. It will elongate the composition, so I also have to elongate the composition over here to add the balance. But also at the same time the paper is ending, so I don't think it makes a sense that I will poke this over here. Even if I have to add it, so supposingly I have this urgency that your client asks that I want a little flower over here. So what you can do is you can reduce the size of this flower up to here, and you can place a little bit over here, but definitely do not place it over here because it is not giving an opportunity right over here. Here you have a little bit of opportunity, a space where you can place this flower, but here you cannot place because of course you don't have a lot of space. Here you have a little bit of space because it's a junction of 2 elements right over here. I placed the flower over here because here it is a junction of 2 elements, 2 previous elements, where I can find an opportunity and a lot of space of placing this flower right over here. Also, you can see that even if I am elongating it over here, it's not just going across the paper, it is still contained a little bit. Of course, I will be painting something right over here, something right over here, there will be few leaves, it will get a little bit bigger, but also you have to place the components in a way that if I'm placing a component, if it is crossing across the paper right over here, and here you are having like so much white space over here, it's not gonna look good. Make sure the overall composition that you are painting should lie in the center of the flower. It should not be to the left, right, up or down. It should placed just in the center. So I'm gonna do a little bit of more things, and that will give you a better idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick the, again, red color that I used earlier for this flower. And then I will just place few smaller flowers, right? Not very fancy thing. So I'm just placing because I have a lot of space. And I use this space as an opportunity to place the elements. So, okay, so here what I did, I placed a normal small size petal flower. And then smaller petals of this flower. And now I'm just using the clear water, and now I am gonna take the green color, and I'm gonna add like, I am definitely gonna add like few of the central elements. I'm gonna join every petal with the stem, few smaller ones. And here I'm just very happy with the placement of this flower. So here, of course, again, I was having opportunity to place this flower. I had to elongate this composition in this direction a little bit, because I elongated the composition in this direction. So of course, there is a difference in space from here to here, but it is not a lot that you will argue to paint the whole composition again on a new paper. So that's the other thing, and I can go back and detail this flower which I just painted. So these are just the things how I will think and how I will proceed the whole composition. I definitely can place the same flower over here, but I somehow do not want to place exact same flower right over here, because it is an elongated flower, and if I again place an elongated flower, it will just create too much symmetry, and I want to break this kind of symmetry. So I just want to have a flower that is just very small, and I am also going to use a much lighter shade. So I'm just going to go with the yellow color, and I'm just going to have like few of these smaller flowers, smaller petal flowers, but also they are not like very detailed, so they are not attaining. So here my purpose is to paint an element, but also not having a lot of attention towards that element. For that, I painted non-detailed petal flowers, and I use a very light color that it won't attract a lot of attention. But of course, I'm gonna paint these center stamen part where everything is just connected, because I do not want it should look something else rather than just a flower. So here I place the elements, I place the filler flowers, and I can just go back and detail this flower which is right over here. I'm gonna add a little bit of red color, just a few elements, not a lot, the same steps, base layer and the second layer, base layer and the second layer. I don't think you should do a lot of detailing right over here, it looks as pretty as it is. So now once I am done with the main elements, the supporting elements or the filler elements, I can go with the leaves. So I'm just gonna pick up the sap green color. So you can see I was painting the elements. I start painting the elements, I will see when the previous elements has dried, I will jump back, I will detail all the previous elements. So that just saves a lot of time. But if it is like too much for you, you can do the base layer of all the elements and then you can do the detailing of all the elements. That's completely up to you. So while placing, there's the other question, like how do I do the placement of leaves and how it's gonna just look good. The same rule that I use for the filler elements, I'm just gonna look for the opportunities the junctions, the areas, the empty spaces, but also creating a balance and the weight. So basically by adding the elements, you are adding weight to the composition, so you have to balance that thing, and also the overall position of the whole composition. So if I have to place of leaves over here, I will never go with one singular big leaf. I can definitely do, but you know what will look better? One leaf and two leaves, maybe a smaller one, three, just two, you know, like make it look a little bit more pretty. And also one other thing, all the things, so all the elements that you are painting, they're having a stem that is connecting, right? So all the stems should just go towards the center. So if I'm having a filler flower, the stems should go to the center. If I'm having a filler flower here, the the axis of the whole flower, the stem should go in the center. Same goes with this flower, the axis should go in the center. So for the leaf, it should go to the center. Of course, these three are the ones who are determining the center. I am gonna pick a little bit of more color. I can paint like few leaves over here because I'm having a lot of space over here. So I'm just gonna add I'm just gonna play a little bit. So I'm just gonna place longer leaves right over here. So should I place a leaf over here? I can definitely place a leaf over here, or I can place a leaf over here, but honestly I will just place one leaf right over here, the same elongated one. So the structure is exactly same, just the length is elongated. So you can definitely do that kind of thing. And also I have to place something right over here because I added the green elements. If I'm not gonna add something over here, it's just gonna make this side a little bit more heavy. So I'm just gonna add these longer and chunkier leaves right over here, right over here. All right. And of course I'm not gonna add longer leaves right over here because it's just gonna make again symmetry, which I do not want. What can we do is we can elongate these leaves, so we are having a little bit of diagonal thing going on. But here, you know, if I ever have to get if I get a choice, if you have to place a leaf over here or here, I will always go over here. But this time I don't think this is gonna be the wise decision, because you know, then this space will be a lot of emptier. So what I will do, I will place a half leaf right over here and another half leaf right over here, which is hiding at the back of this flower. That just helps me a lot to balance the things a little bit. I definitely have to add a little bit more weight at this side because this side seems a little bit more heavy, but I also have to add like few leaves here and there. So I will add like a smaller leaf right over here. I have to pick up more color. I am definitely gonna add smaller leaves here and there, like few smaller ones, not like a lot. And then I am just gonna pick a darker shade of green, and this is the final element that will end up the whole balancing thing. It's the darkest shade, so it's just gonna help so much. So I'm definitely gonna add like few of these elongated leaves just emerging from one point. I am definitely gonna add 2 to 3 right over there. Where else can I add? I'm definitely gonna adding it right over here. I am gonna add like few right over here, like few ones right here, maybe right over here, maybe 1 or 2 just emerging from the center. Looks kind of pretty. Just gonna differentiate these 2 petals from each other. I am also gonna differentiate the petals from here. And I guess I'm pretty happy with the whole composition. It seems pretty balanced. The element seems little balanced, and everything is just present in the center. The space from here to here is equal. Space from here to here seems a little bit equal. all the green elements are just sprinkled all over the whole composition. The colors look sprinkled towards the whole composition in an equal and a nice way. So I guess, yeah, the layering has been done nicely. Also, while I was putting each and every stroke, I was very mindful where I have to put a stroke. And I really hope you enjoyed this YouTube video. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe to this YouTube channel, turn the notifications on so that you are notified whenever the video is out, and see you guys next time.